Many years ago, the company behind The Elder Scrolls, Bethesda, released their acclaimed sci-fi RPG, their first original IP in 30 plus years, Starfield. It was played, it was promptly forgotten about, and no one has talked about it in many months, but I've been thinking about it again. Because a rumour's done the rounds, and you might consider this an older rumour. Starfield is coming to the PS5. Now, that's not normally something I'd care that much about, a game being ported to a Sony console. I mainly play on PC, but the reason I've always been interested in the idea of Microsoft games going third-party is it would basically make them the biggest gaming publisher out there, and they own a lot of IPs, a lot of studios that I have some interest in or I previously have, like, say, Obsidian. In Exile have made some games like Wasteland, for instance. They own the Fallout IP. So it's something I'll always at least be keeping an eye on, and it seemed like after all those rumours from a few months ago, where it seemed like the Band-Aid was getting ripped off, Microsoft were going full third party, Phil Spencer, he was going to let the cat out of the bag and basically say, don't be an idiot, don't buy an Xbox anymore, buy a PC or a PlayStation because our games are going absolutely everywhere. And people really ran with a lot of those rumours, but then it turned out only 4 games were actually coming to the PlayStation, which were Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, a smaller Obsidian one, and others like Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, which I really don't care about. So a lot of people thought, well, the rumours are fake. Xbox are continuing as is. It's just a handful of games that are going to the PlayStation and so on. So all the leaks were fake. Don't believe anyone. It's all untrue. Well, while all this Sweet Baby Ink stuff has been going on, which has probably taken my attention, because games being ruined, integrity being destroyed by DEI stuff, that is way more important than Starfield. However, lost in sort of all of that noise was actually something more credible, a rumour that really seems like it might be accurate, that Starfield will be coming to the PlayStation 5 in November, December of this year, as this tweet outlines. This person says, the announcement won't stop. Starfield is coming to the PlayStation 5, and in 2025, the plan is even bigger. More well-established franchises from the Xbox universe will be coming to other platforms, presumably PlayStation 5, the Nintendo Switch, and of course, continuing to come to PC. That being said, this tweet is actually from February the 22nd, so that was like 3-4 weeks ago, and you'd sort of be thinking, who cares? That's maybe old news from when all those supposedly fake leaks were coming out about Starfield getting ported across. But since that tweet went out, something else has actually happened involving this person on Twitter, this supposed leaker. Now, we can see here, and someone has broken this down on another website, the same tweeter said in the coming days, the announcement for Ghost of Tsushima on PC will take place. Sony plans to unveil the exclusive sequel for PS5 at a mid-year event. Now, if someone had just come out and said, hey, Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC one day, I wouldn't really care. I wouldn't really just consider that person to have credibility because Sony have been porting their games to PC. I think the latest one is Horizon Forbidden West. I don't really care that much about that. I've played the original Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought it was overrated. The sequel I'll probably give a miss, but they are porting more games, and Ghost of Tsushima, sure, it was something I had some interest in. I'd heard some good things. But the key here is that they said it's being ported in the coming days. And then a day or two after this tweet went out, Sony actually did announce it. A Steam page went up for Ghost of Tsushima, and it was officially confirmed. So this gives this person very clear credibility. They said something that would have been disproven as a lie very quickly. They said the coming days this will get announced. If a week went past and it didn't happen, no one would believe this person. So they put themselves out there and they were clearly accurate. So it sounds like they've got insider information when it comes to Sony. So we can see here again, a week before the tweet about Ghost of Tsushima, this same person said that Starfield will be announced for PlayStation 5 with a release between November and December. And something else that's interesting is they also mentioned that an exclusive sequel for PS5 to Ghosts of Tsushima would be announced at a mid-year event. So maybe that is when Starfield will be announced. Now, a lot of people might say, well, this can't be true, because our savior, Phil Spencer, he said that Starfield is not coming to the PS5, it's going to remain an Xbox exclusive. Well, he's always careful with his words. He never outright says, no, this definitely is, or it definitely isn't happening. It's all the same corporate speak that he's known for, that all those sorts of suits are known for. So he kind of left the door open. I think after the presentation they gave, where they said 4 games are getting ported to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation, he literally said in an interview that never say never, essentially. Basically meaning that one day Starfield was definitely coming across to other platforms. He didn't want to just outright say that in the official podcast because he knows fans, Xbox fans, would have lost their mind. And to give a clear previous example of that, someone points out a time where Phil does go back on something that was seemingly promised. So in one interview, probably from, say, early Xbox One days, let's say 2013, 2014 or something, we can see the headline. Phil Spencer says, not every Xbox game will come to PC. So not every game, it'll just be some of them. Now, if you're a PC player, you might be quite confused by that, because as far as I know, as far as anyone else playing on PC knows, every Xbox game now, it does come to PC day one. In fact, it's on Steam. You don't even have to download the shitty Xbox PC app. You can just go to Steam, play on, presumably, your preferred platform. So that would seem a little confusing. And that is because very quickly that statement became not true. We can see here in a follow-up interview, probably from a year or two later, Phil Spencer confirms all first-party Xbox Series X games, they're coming to the PC. And that's where we are in the year 2024. Every single Xbox game, it comes to the PC. So the people who are celebrating, every leaker, everyone out there trying to say, oh no, they're dooming, they're saying that Xbox games, they're coming to PlayStation, the Xbox platform is dead. They are all completely wrong, because Phil has spoken. In that Xbox podcast, he said, no, only some games are going to come across. It's not going to be all of them. But this leaker who has credibility has said that Starfield will be coming to the PlayStation very soon as well. We're not talking years down the track. Maybe that was like the latest rumor that most people were getting around, that Microsoft were discussing the possibility, but nothing was confirmed. Reading this, if it is actually slated for the end of this year, the port is absolutely in development. It might even be finished. They're just waiting for the right timing. And some more evidence of that is when they announced that Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and so on were getting ported across, it was not just an announcement. They didn't just come out and say, yes, we are working on these. Pretty much after they said that, the game started to get released to platforms. I think Sea of Thieves is like weeks away, and it's the same for some of the other ones. So it's not as if they were just giving everyone a heads up. They had those ports in their pocket ready to go. And they claimed that they were going to wait to see how those games performed, and based on that, they would decide if they would move ahead with other ports. Does anyone really believe that? That they are just going to sit there and do nothing, sit on their hands, and that they're not actually working on more ports until they see the sales figures? Obviously not. If you believe that, you're probably so far up Phil's ass that you were excited about the original Xbox One. Remember the one with the Kinect that would spy on you all day when you're sleeping? You'd have to have been excited about that. Anything with the Microsoft Xbox logo name on it, if you're actually believing what he's saying now. But we're just going to wait until we see the results of, say, Grounded and Pentiment, look at the sales figures, and then we'll decide if we do the bigger ones like Starfield and potentially Indiana Jones down the track. They are obviously working on these ports right now. It frustrated me a little bit to see a lot of people get off the bandwagon of the idea that Xbox is going third party purely because they didn't confirm the death of Xbox in that business update that they did. Obviously, they're not going to say that because their whole priority right now is that people keep not only buying Xboxes, but at the very least, they keep spending money in the Xbox ecosystem. They're, say, buying their Fortnite microtransactions on the Xbox platform because Microsoft gets like a 30% cut. They want them to buy FIFA or whatever the equivalent is these days on Xbox. They can't have people just giving it up immediately, moving straight across to PC and PlayStation. They need that all to happen slowly. But mark my words, they are going third party. It is going to happen. It doesn't mean Xbox is dead as a console necessarily. It means that they're just not going to rely on it. There won't really be exclusive games. We've even seen Sony talk about that. As a PC player, it's a good thing to some extent because it's going to mean that we're guaranteed to get all the games. If there's no exclusives, then absolutely, they'll probably come to Steam. I really hope that the Sonys, Microsofts don't one day try and lock more games on their own storefronts on PC. That's where it'll get extremely dicey, and that's when people will start to turn to piracy and things like that. That's when it happens, when it's not convenient to play your games. So hopefully they do the right thing by the PC audience. But despite all of that, I have some fears, because while Microsoft were at least trying to grow the console, I was okay with that because they were still putting their games on PC, but they were looking at the long term. They weren't just, let's just make as much money as possible out of whatever game that they're releasing, because their whole goal is to grow the platform, which means you've got to release good games that bring people into them, get people to buy the console because they want to, which Sony, I guess, had with Uncharted and all those sorts of exclusives that they had. They haven't tried to monetize all those and ruin their reputations. They focused on them at least getting a good critical reception, decent reception from audiences, so their consoles keep selling and people are enthusiastic. But if Microsoft does go third party, they won't really need to worry about reputation anymore. All they'll care about is the return on investment for every single game. So what does that mean? If a Fallout comes out, is it going to be a genuine single-player title with no monetization schemes? It's just going to be story-based, 100+ hours, big adventure, great value proposition for the paying customer. Is that going to be the case, or is it going to be more Fallout 76 style nonsense, where it's about, we need a 10-year plan where people will buy the game and just keep playing it for a decade, keep investing it, and of course spend money on the Atom store, the Atom shop, or whatever the equivalent is in maybe the Elder Scrolls as well. Why would Elder Scrolls be single player? Why would Elder Scrolls be a pay once you own it, you just play it, that's it? If their big focus is making as much money as possible over time. So I do think that is somewhat a worry. I think it's funny if this does happen, if Starfield gets announced, because of all these naysayers going, no, it's never going to go to Sony. Everyone's saying so was a conspiracy theorist and just saying that because they're an Xbox hater when it was really obvious the writing is on the wall. It will be funny when this happens. It seems like I believe this rumor. I just really think it's happening, and everyone who was saying it wasn't going to happen was just purely coping. But again, I don't think it's all going to be rosy. I think if Microsoft are putting their games everywhere, over time, they're going to go, all right, we're making a bit more money from these ports. Now we need more money. That means more microtransactions, more battle passes. Let's destroy the integrity of single-player games. Right now, it doesn't matter so much because Microsoft barely release anything worth playing anyway. But when they start going for these IPs like the Elder Scrolls that still have a decent reputation, that's when you're really going to see the damage. If they start to ruin the Elder Scrolls, they destroy Bethesda even further, that's when you'll sort of think, all right, this consolidation of the industry, it always looked bad. Now we're really seeing the damage that it does to all of these different studios that are owned under one corporate umbrella. So thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.